Oh,
Good morning, Grand Rising, or as one of my clients now says, Rich Rising to you. Now that she's making good money. I appreciate everybody being here. Welcome to your daily huddle, Spiritual Matters Thursdays, here with Dr. Monikah Ogando, your host, with all of us here at the Daily Huddle family. I'm so happy that you are here. Today, we are talking about what are some of the winter solstice or Christmas or holiday traditions that you celebrate. I'm going to give you a little bit of context for how they are celebrated around the world, some of the symbolic elements and spiritual elements of those traditions. And then we'll get to talking about how we do it. This is how we do it. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. Yes, yes. Welcome, everybody. And thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that you show up every morning for the Daily Huddle, and particularly this morning for Spiritual Matters Thursday. I appreciate you being here. And so, in order for us to get grounded, we'll ask what we always ask. And we'll start with you, Robin. How the heck are you? And what are you thankful for?
I'm kind of purple today. Isn't that look cool? I like the new
I
background
can be
color.
blue, I can be brown, I can be purple, whatever that
I
is.
am, let's see, how am I doing today, you say? That's what you asked? How am I doing?
Yes, how are
I
you?
am exactly the way I say I am. And
Yes.
today I am doing December-ish. I am a very, very big fan of this time of year. And
Mhm.
although there's such chaos going on in my world and my friends and loved ones, I'm grounded in my higher power, and it is giving me peace.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good stuff. Yes, yes. Rashida, my lovely mountain dreamer, where are you? And who are you hugging today?
oh, where I am right here, where I supposed to be, right here. And who I'm going to hug today? For certain, I'm not going to go out my trees. Too much snow outside there.
Mhm,
But I'm going to hug my German Shepherd, and I'm
mhm.
going to hug my girlfriend that is spending the holiday with me. So I'm going to do
Nice.
some lot of hugging, and don't. I'm not even going to forget to hug myself. Thank you so much for asking, my dear sister. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Good stuff. And then let me see who else is here. Oh my goodness, Dr. Joy is here. Dr. Joy, um, what time is it where you are? Mm-hmm. Uh-oh, we can't make out what she's saying. All right, so then Harumi, can you speak up about what time it is where you are? Where's Harumi? There
There
she
she
is.
is.
Yes, good morning. What time it is? It what should I say? It is now time. Now,
Now
right now,
time.
here.
Now
Thank you.
time. Yes, I love it. She's like, I'm ready. I'm ready to coach. I love it. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. So appreciate you. Today we're talking about winter solstice and Christmas and other holiday traditions that we celebrate. And I would love to find out what your traditions are and what you celebrate. Um, this, as many traditions that we later on ascribe to religion, this one also has started with astronomy and agriculture. And so, for example, in European traditions, you have Yule log and mistletoe and the Christmas tree, and we'll talk about that. In Latin American traditions, you have Las Posadas. In Asian traditions, you have festivals like Dongji, Kwanzaa with African influences, but all of them have their symbolism around light and darkness. As you know, the sun is at its lowest in the Western Hemisphere. Excuse me, in the Northern Hemisphere. The sun is at its lowest in Christmas time. It just so happens that today is the day of winter solstice. And all that means is that today is the day where the sun's light is the furthest away from the Earth, from the planet. And so therefore it is the shortest day and the longest night of the year. And from an astronomical perspective, that shows up for 3 days. It looks like the sun is stationary at the horizon. And so therefore we have 3 shortest days of the year. And in some traditions, that has translated into the Christological character being in tune for 3 days. It also symbolizes the stay of the Magi in the manger, stayed for 3 days, giving gifts and being with Mary and Joseph and so forth. And so there's a lot of those pieces of those traditions and of those narratives that have begun long before there was documented history. And those who documented that history have alluded to where they got it from, right? We just kind of forgot to quote them on that. And so it doesn't take away though from the sanctity, the holiness, the importance that we as human beings give to the traditions, the ceremonies that indicate the passage of time, that indicate our honoring, our living with the planet and not just in it, right? And so, for example, the tradition of the Yule log dates back to, this was a little bit more modern because it dates back to medieval times, primarily in Scandinavian and other Germanic cultures, and it was part of the Yule festival, which is winter solstice celebration. And the Yule log, which is a large log, often from like an ash tree, was brought into the home with great ceremony on Christmas Eve, and it was meant to burn continuously, often for 12 days, like the 12 days of Christmas, symbolizing warmth and light and safety during the darkest days of the year. And so it was really a symbol of hope, that no matter how dark it gets, there's always an ember of light always available in our hearts and in our home. And so today, that physical log has largely been replaced by a decorative tree, sometimes with synthetic leaves, sometimes new one that you go pick up at the store or whatever, and sometimes in the form of a cake that resembles a log, keeping up the tradition alive in different forms. It's the same thing with the mistletoe. The mistletoe significance dates back to ancient Druid rituals, where it was seen as a symbol of vitality and fertility due to its ability to bloom even in the coldest of winters. And so in various cultures, it was believed that the mistletoe possessed mystical powers, providing protection against evil and fostering a sense of peace and goodwill. And that's why enemies will often reconcile under the mistletoe, which led to the tradition of kissing under it. And
you say mistletoe? I thought it was toads.
No,
I thought it was mistletoads. Look at my
the
screen.
mistletoe is a symbol of love, of friendship, of goodwill. And hanging it in homes during the Christmas season continues as a tradition, promoting that sense of, unity, affection, etc. So we have a lot of those. The Dongji, for example, literally means the arrival of winter in Asian cultures, particularly Chinese and Korean communities. And so it symbolizes that balance of yin and yang, where the yin qualities of darkness and cold reach their peak to give way to the light and the warmth of yang, right? And so in that tradition, families gather together during that time to celebrate the gradual increase of daylight and the ensuing positive energy. And then sometimes they'll have like red bean porridge and In Korea, for example, there's a festival known as Dongji, and that's where they'll have that red bean porridge. And it's a time for family reunions and feasts, similar to how we do Thanksgiving and Christmas in Western cultures. The most modern one, however, is Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa was created in 1966. So like some of us were alive when that happened. And it's a celebration that honors African heritage and African American culture. And it goes through, that festival lasts a week from December 26th, the day after Christmas Day, to January 1st, which is the new year. And it's centered around 7 core principles like unity, self-determination, collective work, responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. And some of us know those names. Like I know, for example, the one that has always stayed with me is self-determination, just because the name is so much fun. Do you know what the name is for self-determination? It's Kuji Jagalia. It sounds like a song, Kuji Jagalia. And so celebrants often decorate their homes with art and colorful African cloth, and especially the colors of red, black, and green, because the kinara, which is like a candle holder, uses those 7 candles, much like the Jewish tradition uses the menorah, that represents those 7 principles. And so, you know, I want to know, what are your traditions around this time? And maybe you grew up with a certain set of traditions, and then as you grew older and you became your own self-sufficient adult and you started your own family, maybe you started different traditions. So I would love to hear from you. How do you celebrate this time of the year? Tell me.
She can outlast
Laura,
her folks.
yes, Laura.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Ogando. Thank you so much. So I grew up celebrating this time and preparing for Christmas as a child. And part of that was like cleaning, making sure everything was clean.
Mm-hmm.
In Jamaica, people would clean their yards. We call it yard, not lawn.
Yeah, yeah.
But they would paint the roots of the trees in white, about 6, might be about 3 feet up. They would paint it white. And at that time, we didn't have electricity, so we didn't have lights on the trees.
Mm-hmm.
But the key was really into cleaning. As a child, I remember we had to wash all the wares from the china cabinets. It was just this serious work in preparing for this Christmas season, and the baking, the rum cakes, the cereal, preparing that. But when I came here, I still do some of that traditionally, but I got into celebrating Kwanzaa.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah, I do still some of the traditional stuff, the baking and stuff, but I do now accept and celebrate Kwanzaa as a tradition. With that, I'm complete, and thank you for the lessons. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's sweet. Yeah. What about you, Dr. Joy? You have your hand up. Hi. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, one thing that we have in our family that's a small tradition is whenever we use the stocking, we have the Christmas stockings. And one thing that my parents did with me that I continue with my son is to always put a large orange in the stocking. Oh, Robin, you're shaking your head. And the reason why my mom said she put large oranges in our stocking was because when she was growing up, right, she's in her 70s, she's 78. And she said that when she was growing up, they financially were struggling. And in their household, a piece of fruit was a big deal. Like to actually have a fresh piece of fruit was like a luxury to them. So that's why they would, when she was a kid, she always got a piece of fruit in her stocking. It was a big deal. Oh, fresh fruit, this is awesome, right? So when she became educated and more well off, she put fruit in our stockings. Usually it was an orange, I guess because she liked oranges. So now I do the same with my son. He knows for certain that he's always going to get an orange in his house, you know. So that's one thing he knows for certain. Yeah. We also, just like the other speaker just said, we also celebrate Kwanzaa. And one thing that I learned a long time ago, early on, Mulana Karinga, the founder of Kwanzaa, he suggested that with children, one thing that you do each and every day is give them a book every single day of Kwanzaa as a gift. And I continued that with my son as well. So that's how we celebrate Kwanzaa. He knows that he's going to get a book on each day of Kwanzaa. Now that he's 15, I don't choose his books. Usually we just go to Barnes and Noble and I say, have at it. You get 7 books for 7 days of Kwanzaa.
Yeah, I like that. I like that tradition.
Yes, that's how we celebrate it. But I wanted to hear, Robin, do you do the fruit thing?
My mother did the fruit thing in our stockings. I'm one of 7. So we always got an orange, or if it was really, really a tangerine, because those were better, a tangerine. And yes, I still do. I put a bag of nuts, a chocolate bar, a piece of fruit, all the stuff. And if you can find them, the little Lifesavers book that had the rolls of Lifesavers in them, we always got one of those too. So if I can find them, I put that in there as well. Yes.
That's great. Thank you, you guys. That was awesome. I really appreciate you sharing all of your traditions in this way. I see what's that hand up? Who's that? Who's that?
Dr. Ogando, I love this because in listening to Laura and Dr. Joy, and I going through my head with the nugget that my ancestors have left is just amazing, because I remember we look forward to go to our grandparents for Christmas. Yeah. And one of the reasons because there was crop of what they have reaped from the whole season, and then the 21st of December, every 21st of December, they will sacrifice a pig. They kill a pig. For them, it was like, and they take all here to fatten this pig just to kill him for the 21st of December. And it was so much meat that the neighbors used to share the meat with neighbors. And next thing is that Mirale was doing all that. The women them will be in the house cleaning and changing the curtain and just beautifying the place. Yeah. And we have a tradition that everyone of us who was at the house, at my grandparents' house, we used to make tamales. And trust me, everybody have a chore. Or you put the rice, you put the beans, you put the meat, everybody, you tie it, you put it in the pot. Listen, trust me. So those are tradition that we still, my sister, my older sister, she still do tamales. So we hang out, and today is one of the days that we choose to get together and make tamales and Christmas cake. And today is my granddaughter birthday. She turned 21. So 21 years ago, she messed up the whole Christmas setting because everybody was at the hospital. So this is something that we always remember, but the tradition is, I would say, is similar. Everybody get together and just share loves and pass on tradition.
Yeah.
So we still do it. We still make tamales.
That's awesome. Those, they sound delicious. Every time you say tamales, I'm like, why am I hungry all
That
this?
what they would call is pasteles.
Pasteles, yeah.
The Puerto Rican call it pasteles. So it's the same thing. Trust me.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you for sharing that. That was awesome. Stan, you got something?
Yeah, I just want to say, me and my wife, here in our house, so we celebrate Kwanzaa also. She's actually the one that got me into that tradition. She came up really in that and studied under Dr. G2 Wautsi and when Ron Karinga, he was a real proponent of they had a whole tremendous educational organization called the East back in the 70s and stuff, and she taught there, and it was just really great. So we started celebrating Kwanzaa then. And, at the end of Kwanzaa, you get what you call a zawadi. That's a gift. And it was always usually recommended that you give a gift. And we've done that quite so often as a book. A book is a gift. Yeah. That tradition of Kwanzaa, I just wanted to mention that. And Rashida, Doris said you'd better make her some tamales.
That's fantastic. Okay. Now, do you still do Christmas Eve and Christmas Day? Do you do anything about that?
We still do that because my wife actually sings, on the choir at our church. It's a big, big church, and they have a beautiful choir. And she's actually commenting in the background.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and they know that already. Yeah.
We grew up with many of the traditions that Laura spoke about. I remember the hose being transformed.
Yeah, we do practice both. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you. Being transformed, curtains changed, cakes made, and I remember us calling the apples from the US being called ice apples. I did not understand why they called them ice apples. Maybe because they were cold. I don't know. Oh, house did, yes. Okay, got it. Oh my goodness. Okay, Cece, come on up. What do you have to say? I don't know if I can do this with the video.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to hear all of you ones. Our tradition growing up has kind of like changed. So growing up, we made cookies the night before, pastels and all these sweet things. And as I got older, I started recognizing Kwanzaa and the whole understanding as to why I'm celebrating this time. And, growing up, we did the traditional things like gather together for Christmas. And I think on Christmas Day, we went to the movies together and we exchanged presents. But today I have a different understanding. Every day is a gift that God gives me. So I just celebrate every day as a present. God giving me this life as a present. And I try to show love towards everybody every day and not just do it during this time. And of course, I want to recognize the season as a spiritual thing, not just a purchasing gifts and all this other stuff, like recognizing that not Jesus, I am the gift, and the gift is in me, and it's to share the gift that I've been given to give to others so that love continues to multiply, not just in my family, but to anyone and everyone with a clean heart. So I said enough and I'll pass. Thank you. And Merry Christmas, everybody, or happy holidays. Sorry.
Yes. Awesome stuff. I love what you said about not forgetting the reason for the season, as it were. Now, in recent years, the holiday season has seen a significant increase in commercialization, right? With a focus on shopping and consumerism and so forth. And then COVID happened and everybody had to stay at home or shop online, et cetera, et cetera. And then the inflation happened. People were like, wait a minute, we're going to have to revisit some stuff. And so that commercialization often overshadows the deeper, more traditional, heart-centered spiritual values of the season, such as togetherness and gratitude and reflection and all of that. But we have seen that turn around with the advent of people staying more and more indoors with more and more access to online tools, online shopping and online connections, etc., and people understanding what's happening, they've become much more of a global citizen because they have access to more than just propaganda news from their country. They can, hear other people's stories and see other people's real-time on the field videos of what's going on. And so they want to be more conscientious consumers and want to use the seasons or special events, etc., for forwarding a cause that is near and dear to their heart, and it's part of their conviction and not just their consumerism. And so a lot of times this is just another opportunity for us to find that harmony between enjoying the material aspects and then also maintaining that spiritual, emotional, and even familial and cultural connections. Yeah. Some of that is mindful gift giving. A couple of people mentioned the whole thing about giving a book as a gift. And some of it is just about creating experiences, right? So fostering those traditions that bring families and communities together beyond the commercial sphere. Now, a couple of things that I will say about that, a couple of things that I'll say about this. You have heard me say before, especially when we talked about seasons and planning according to the cycles of nature and not just the consumerism cycles, is that if you look at nature, and I'm always talking from the perspective of the Northern Hemisphere because this is where most of us live. The winter's here, the leaves have fallen, the ground is cold and barren and bare. And if you were to watch nature, this is the time to sit down and be quiet. But society would have you moving around and going from pillar to post, and instead of fasting, you're eating everything, and instead of being quiet, you're just in a whole bunch of holiday parties and moving here and moving there and going to the mall and going to the store and da 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 da. And so I am always going to exhort you with the gentlest of reminders to be mindful of your health, both physical and mental health. Maintaining your wellness routine, maintaining a morning routine to wake up and face the day, an evening routine to shut it down and to set yourself up for maximal rest. Holidays can also be a time for personal reflection and goal setting. We'll talk next week, about setting yourself up for a 12-week year. And so this is a great time for self-assessment, for writing down the things that you've accomplished throughout the year. Sometimes we overestimate what we can get done in a day, but we underestimate what we can get done in a year. And so this is a great time to kind of like be in that self-reflection, and then also practice your boundaries to manage that holiday stress, or to prioritize self-care, to engage in activities that nurture your spiritual, your emotional well-being, and also to become a global citizen of sorts. Find out what's going on the other side of the pond. Find out I have heard so much recently, people saying, I didn't know this and that was happening. I didn't know that this was this bad. I didn't know that, da, 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 da. And so they're paying attention to one thing. Maybe you're looking at the Israel and Palestinian conflict and the Palestinian genocide inflicted by Israel. But you forgot that this has been going on for 75 years. Or maybe you didn't forget, maybe you never knew or didn't think about it. Or that there's been a genocide happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, or that there's been, movement happening in the Supreme Court in the United States and so forth. So this is an opportunity in that quietness, in that reflection time, to look at all of your circles, right? Like your own individual circle for yourself and your mental health and your finances and your goals, etc., and then your family, and then your community, and then your city or state, and then the country, and maybe even the globe as a whole. Like what kind of global citizen do you want to be, and what kind of difference do you want to make? Not to overwhelm you, because that's another trick of the ego. It's like, oh, there's so much to do, I'm just not going to do anything. But to decide, right? Like, where are you standing and how are you moving forward? So thank you again, everybody, for being here. I so appreciate your presence, your contributions, your laughter, your giggles, your personalities. We love you very much. Remember to stress less, to eat more balanced food, more plant-based, to sleep at least 7 hours, to give of yourself, your love, your time, your attention, to love more, to stress less, to always, always audit your assumptions, check yourself before you wreck yourself. We love you. See you next time.
Thank you. Love you all.
Thank you.
Good holidays, everybody.
Thank you so much, Dr.